Imagine you're planning this party. Everyone's excited about what's coming. You sent the invites out. You've let everyone know you're putting on drinks. The weather's going to be awesome. It's going to be a real hoot. In fact, you started inviting more people last minute. A lot more people. Pretty soon the mood of the place starts turning. The food's gone, all the drinks are drunk, and it's hot and now people are cranky. Everyone's still there, but this party is as good as over. This is a short story about the property market. We invited all these people into the country. We didn't provide enough property or land for the people who were already here, but we don't want to rely on stories and narratives alone. So in this video, we're going to talk about Australia's housing shortage and explain it showing a few different graphs. We're going to talk about the government's response to this because it's been wide out in the open, but I guess because of the 24-hour news cycle, it's been forgotten about quick. Then I'm going to circle back to what it means to you as an individual because the host of this party doesn't know what they're doing and this affects us all. Okay, graph number 1, population growth. This data from the ABS, which goes back 20 years, you can see the dip from COVID, and then you can see the government making up for lost time. You could look at this graph and maybe make the case that as a nation, we were just trying to make up for lost time and maybe trying to claw back the economic losses from COVID. When thinking about this in terms of housing supply, it means our construction industry has to have double the output to create the homes for these people. I'm going to talk about this later on when we look at Albo's housing policy. The next graph is Aussie building permits year on year, again data from the ABS. We can see here that they are decreasing massively over the last 12 months. Many builders could not manage the inflation of the last few years. Many went bankrupt because they had to honour fixed rate building contracts as their costs skyrocketed. Many have had to substantially increase prices to cover the risk of further inflating costs. The mix of rising construction costs and builders going bankrupt is demonstrated by the large decline in building permits shown in this graph. The next graph I'm going to show to bring this together is a little bit old, but it shows a divergence here. The light blue line, population growth, keeps going up. It only reflects the start of the ramping up of immigration. The dark blue line, which is building approvals, continues to drop. This highlights the scope of the problem that we're going to face in the coming years.
What has been the public feedback on the Albanese government's landmark $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund?
This will change housing in Australia. It will benefit so many Australians.
Enter the Australian Housing Future Fund, Labor's solution for social and affordable housing. Let me quote from Labor's official website. The $10 billion Housing Australian Future Fund would deliver funding to build 30,000 affordable homes within its first 5 years, including 20,000 new social housing homes, 4,000 of which would be allocated to women fleeing domestic violence and older women at risk of homelessness, 10,000 affordable rentals for the frontline workers like police, nurses and cleaners who kept us safe during the pandemic, $200 million to repair, maintain and improve remote Indigenous housing, $100 million for crisis and transitional housing for women and children leaving or experiencing domestic and family violence, and older women on low incomes who are at risk of homelessness, and $30 million to build housing and fund specialist services for veterans experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. Okay, let's do some simple maths here. 10 billion divided by these 30,000 homes that are going to get built means it's going to cost the government $333,333 to build each new home. In my opinion, it's highly unlikely these promises are going to be met. The fear I think that people should consider is the inflationary effect that the extra $10 billion of created money is going to have, which could make it even harder to fix the overall housing supply issue. If you follow me, you may have seen some commentary regarding Help to Buy. That's the other main government policy designed to help normal people to get access to the property market. We can see from Treasury's website here that Help to Buy will seek to help 40,000 Australians. Help to Buy is a co-ownership scheme where the federal government will pitch up to 40% to help home buyers get into the market. If we put some conservative numbers together and say the average house purchase under this scheme is $500,000, and we say that the government is pitching in 25% just to be conservative, that would mean a further $5 billion going into the economy, specifically the property market. A fair question here is, how does this help the property problems that we currently have?
Additional $1 billion that will be spent this year directly on public and community housing.
The single biggest investment in social and affordable housing by a federal government in more than a decade.
All of this investment into housing sounds really good, right? I mean, there's billions of dollars going into solving these problems. I guess that depends on who you are. If you've already owned property for 5 years, for example, you're probably going to continue to benefit so long as you can make your loan repayments and you're not forced to sell. This represents the growing divide between the haves and the have-nots. I've made this argument to friends who have benefited purely because of the generation that they were born in, and my response was that they should care because their kids now have to grow up in a more unsafe world. More people starved out of opportunities to live a life where they can look forward to is going to lead to bad societal outcomes. Tragically, this played out when a wealthy businessman's daughter was the victim of the stabbing frenzy in Bondi not too long ago. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit. The whole thing with the housing shortfall, in my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, is going to continue to get worse. If the last 15 or so years are anything to go by, these government policies just result in more people being in debt for longer. So what do? Well, for most people, there's no easy answers. You're going to have to be prepared to work hard for your future, and that's going to be a bitter pill to swallow because people are already working hard. In my mind, the party's over and most of us are going to have to rely on ourselves to make it financially. I know from running my business there are lots of people out there who've triumphed in this area over adversity. I'm talking people from war-torn countries, people from third world countries who literally came to this country with nothing but the shirt on their backs. Maybe they had pants. Listen, the reason I say this is despite all of the negativity in the world right now, you can achieve what you need to make it financially in this life. I'm in the process of creating a community aimed at helping people make it financially. The link will be in the description somewhere below. If you're still here, I want to offer you something. No obligation or anything like that. I'd be happy to have an actual conversation with you. No matter where you are in life, I can't promise any easy answers to your problems, but I've got a pretty good head on me and I'd like to think I'm at least a good sounding board for finance stuff. You can find my contact details below. If you like this video, go and look at this one I made about property predictions for the property market. It's about 6 months old now, so you're going to be able to find places where I'm wrong and where I'm right. Good luck.